You're tuned to Radio Kidnappers, the voice of Hawke's Bay. This is the program called The Wonderful World of Wardini Books, and it's our pleasure, as always, to have in the studio the wonderful Lou from Wardini Books in Havelock North. How you going, Lou?
I'm very well. How are you?
Yeah, I'm going good. I'd be all the better if I had that coat that you've got on. I love it.
It's a marvellous coat.
It is. It would be just perfect. It's one of those three-quarter coats. Can't get them anywhere.
Well, I got it in a second-hand shop in Oamaru. You have
did
to
you?
look.
I know you do. You get some great bargains. I've got a really good jacket, which no one knows, cost $10.
Yes. Well, I don't care.
Ah, that's right, same here. Anyway, we've got three more great books to have a bit of a squeeze at, and the first one is called Julian is a Mermaid.
It's delightful. It's a picture book for children. It's by Jessica Love, and the colours are amazing. I was just trying to figure out where it was set. Is it like a Notting Hill carnival, or is it, what's that big one in Brazil? You know, the beautiful,
I know the one,
amazing street carnivals that you have where everybody's dressed up.
The Mardi Gras.
Mardi Gras and things like that. So this is about Julian. And I don't know if he lives with his nana or he's just hanging out with his nana, but they're on the bus and he's reading a book. This is Julian, this is his nana. And those are some mermaids. So I don't know if he's found them in his book, or it's a flight of fancy, or there are maybe drag queens or very glamorous women on the bus. But anyway, he loves mermaids. He's obsessed with mermaids. And in his head, this is what happens to him. So he's a little boy with very short hair. And in his head, he's kicking off his pants and his vest, and his hair grows long and he becomes the mermaid. So he's got this massive flight of fancy going on. And look at the colours of that.
It's
he's
fantastic.
in the ocean with all the colourful things, and he is in his element. You can just tell that that's what he wants to be. So if you look carefully, that very large fish with the beautiful blue colouring is the same pattern as his nana's dress later on. But anyway, he gets off and he says, Nana, did you see the mermaids? And she says, I saw them, honey. Anyway, they go home and it's a hot day and Nana's off for a bath and she says, you be good. And he has an idea. And so he nicks things from the plants and he sheds his clothes and he's got these beautiful fern fronds in his hair and he's nicking Nana's makeup. And he has the curtain from the window and he is a mermaid.
I love it.
And Nana comes out the bathroom and he goes, uh-oh. You know, that's his face going, uh-oh. And she says, come here, honey. And you think, oh, no.
Some trouble.
And she just gives him this set of beautiful beads.
Yes, look at that.
And they get all dressed up and they go out to the festival. And Julian gets to be the mermaid that he feels like he is inside. So it works on all sorts of levels, as you can see.
Indeed.
It might be about a boy who wants to just be a mermaid. It might be about a boy who wants to be a girl.
Yes, indeed.
And other than that, it's just a gorgeous, colourful, wonderful children's book.
It's a great story, isn't it?
About being who you want to be and doing what you want to do, and mermaids.
Great drawings.
Just
love it.
The colour. I want to be on that beach with those mermaids too.
And there's Grandma's dress, just like you said.
Yeah. So she's a big fishy, and she's a big grandma too. Look at those ones.
Look at that. Yeah.
Fabulous.
And while it's obviously a children's book, but anyone can read it.
Oh, of course they can, and that's the good thing about children's books. Kat at the shop had this brilliant idea that we should have a children's book club for grown-ups.
Yeah, you should.
We read a lot of kids' books, and they're fabulous. So
Yeah.
why shouldn't we all be enjoying those?
Look, I often go to the library and get out those Superman.
Oh, yeah.
They're not called comics. What are they
They're
called?
graphic novels.
Graphic novels,
Yes.
yeah. Much better. I read graphic novels, not comics.
Yes, that gives it a bit more gravitas.
It does. Makes you sort of feel like an older person, not like a kid.
A serious person.
And the next book is called Nickel Boys. What's that all about?
The Nickel Boys is by Colson Whitehead, and he won the Pulitzer Prize with The Underground Railroad, and he's written lots of books. And this one is set in the 60s in Florida. And it's about a young man called Elwood Curtis, which I think is such a beautiful name. And he's a good boy. He lives with his grandma as well. And his parents have buggered off. They're a bit wastrel-like. But he's a very serious boy. All the boys in his neighbourhood are a bit flighty, and they get in trouble, and they get into drugs, and they're in a poorer part of the area, a black part of the area. And Elwood is a good boy. He does well at school. He's going to end up going to college, all that kind of thing. Something happens, and there is a lot of racial prejudice involved with what happens, and he ends up in a reform school called Nickel, the Nickel
That's
School
what
for Boys.
Name, the Nickel Boys.
Yeah, and you can imagine the horrors that go on there in 1960s Florida. So it's segregated. So you've got the naughty white boys and you've got the naughty black boys, and you've got the house fathers, and you're on edge the whole time with what those house fathers are going to do, because the way that they control those children is brutal. But Elwood has got his nana's very strict and quite religious, and she would only let him listen to one record, and that was the words of Dr. Martin Luther King, who was telling him, you're as good as anyone. And so Elwood's got that in his head the whole time, I'm as good as anyone. And he is always about doing the right thing, and in his youth he gets into activism. You've got this, there are bits of the story where you hear about what Elwood's doing later in life when he's not at the reform school, so you know he
comes through.
Yes. But then you've got this all going on, and it's about a firm friend that he makes in there called Turner as well, who's got quite a light way of looking at the world and has plans all of his own. Yeah. He's got a plan to escape, but he'll have to do it by himself because other people hold you back.
Yes.
But,
sounds like a depressing book. Was it depressing? Was it uplifting at the end, or?
Yeah, it's one of those that's incredibly moving. I mean, you know that there are real hard case evil people out there, and people that will prey on vulnerable people. But it's a reminder of that. The bits that describe the abuse are not graphic, so they will be alluded to. I mean, there are a couple of beatings that are quite graphic, but he's such a beautiful writer. He writes simply, it's accessible, but just it's just beautiful, very moving.
Out of 10, what would you give it?
It's a 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10.
It's a really beautiful book. Yeah. But I mean, it's not for the faint of heart.
No.
I've told you the subject matter. You can either deal with that or you can't.
Yeah, that's right. Or you can read
and that's fair enough.
You can read your graphic in the comic like I do.
You can go back to Superman.
That's right.
He'll swoop in and save them all.
And bringing up the trail, or bringing up to an end on this program, is running up that hill. What's that all about?
This is the highs and lows of going that bit further. It's a running book. We have to do a running book every now and again.
Yes, good idea.
It's Vassos Alexander, who I think I've done one of his books on this show before, and he's a DJ in the UK, just like you, Ken. And he's an ultra runner. He does all sorts of things. So he starts off with it. He's got Greek heritage. He's a Greek-British person, and he's starting off telling you about the Spartathlon. I don't know if you've heard about that one.
No.
You run from Athens to Sparta.
Well, just for something
like
to
you
do.
It's 247 kilometres, and it's a one-stage race. So you have aid stations and rest stops, but you don't sleep for the night. So he's telling you about that, and it's interspersed with anecdotes about ultra running from the world's greats. So you've got Jasmine Paris, Dean Karnassus, Kilian Jornet, or I don't know if I pronounced his name correctly, but never mind. So they're all telling you about... look, there's Claire Maxted, who's a really good runner, and I've just got to tell you her take on ultra running, if I can find it. I've dog-eared lots and lots of pages, but she just talks about... It's just about getting to a stage where you can plod, you can just plod along.
That's me.
Yeah, for 10 hours.
That's not me.
And you can cover it. You can cover the... I can't find it now. It's terrible, isn't it? Never mind. But it's just... He's really funny. He's got a light tone. It's full of anecdotes. And I think even if you don't run at all, if you're a complete couch potato, it is about facing adversity. Because, 247 kilometres, he hallucinates at points. He's crawling, on his hands and knees.
Yes.
And it's about why you would do that and how that can affect how you handle other things in your life.
Indeed.
And I think it was just really entertaining.
Yeah, sounds like a good one.
It's
and
a
of course,
cracker.
These books are available at Wardini Books, and you've got 2 stores. Just remind our listeners where those stores are.
They're 16 Tomato Road in Havelock North and 44 Hastings Street, Napier.
And you've got a website and a Facebook page.
Yes.
And as always, it's been our pleasure. You look after yourself. We'll talk to the same time, same place next week.
Cheers, Ken.